Hey everybody, welcome to Making It. This is episode 84. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto.
How are you doing?
Nice!
I was ready this time.
Yeah, you are. And Jimmy Diresta.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Thank you for having me. Very good. Things are good. Hot as hell.
You're always welcome, right? I mean, like, you're on the show. Like, we're not having you. You're just a part of the show. You know that, right?
Well, I'm really thanking for the people that are actually tuning in. So I'm thanking those guys.
Okay.
I see.
Special guest for the 84th time in a row, Jimmy Diresta.
No, I'm thanking the people for having us. It's the collective listeners. So thank you guys. That's what I'm really trying to say. But I also thank you guys for keep inviting me back. No, it's super hot here in New York. It's been so hot the last few days. It's like slightly oppressive. You just got to kind of truck on through and carry a couple of extra T-shirts with you. But yeah, it's been tough. Down in the shop, as long as I have fans going, I'm okay. But everywhere I go, I have to have a fan with me, like pointing at me. So it's one of those couple days.
So being in like the lower level of those type of buildings, that doesn't afford any cooling at all?
Oh, no,
I think
certainly
of cellars
does.
as always being like cooler.
No, it's like in the basement, it's 90 above ground. In the basement, it's like 80 above ground. It's like 95. That's what it seems like. So you feel the breeze, you feel the temperature drop as you go downstairs. It's, in all honesty, it's probably about 75, 80 in the basement. But with the fan on, it's totally feels chilly and nice. So everywhere I go, I'm like pointing the fan in that direction. I need one of those tripods that follow me. What are those tripods called? When you have the remote control in your pocket and you walk around and it points at you.
Oh, yeah. The solo solo shot.
I need that for my fan. That's what I need. So there's an Arduino project for all three of us right there.
Nice.
Or you could just take a box fan and build a backpack frame.
Yep.
And put it on your back, like blowing up the back of your neck.
With a really long extension cord.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
Don't laugh. We talked about it 2 days ago. Me and Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
What have you guys been up to? What's everybody working on?
So today I started a ridiculous project. I started and finished just a little bit ago. I have this really old woodworking book called Bench Woodwork. I'm showing you guys on camera, but nobody else can see it. I'm a big fan of old books. And I was flipping through the book last night looking for something to post on Instagram. And I never noticed it before, but there is a Wiener Dog tie rack project.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like, I got to do this. And so I made it today. It's ridiculous. I have no use for a tie rack for my one tie that I own. So I'll just give it away to one of my Patreon followers. But it was fun. Cool. There's a little bit of carving in there. I had to. We were supposed to record this at 4, but I needed to get this video done so I could have it out for my Tuesday video. And so the reason I was a little late was because I had to go to the Goodwill and buy new ties for the video. And so I got like the 4 most ridiculous ties I could find, and just finished up the project, and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
And of course, Weens the Wiener Dog makes an appearance in the video.
Nice.
Of course.
I see.
You should put a tie on him.
Ah, that's funny. I see a cross dissolve, like he walks into frame and it cross dissolves into his silhouette.
Ooh.
We should have talked before you finished.
We should have. I'll consult you before every video now.
For every Wiener Dog project.
With every Wiener Dog project, exactly. Because those are easy. So what am I doing? I'm just finishing up some client work, but over the weekend I had a really productive weekend. I talked a couple weeks ago about Eric Lazat. That's the proper way to say his name. He, Eric and Kevin, Eric's his brother. Kevin came to my shop at the farmhouse, and we did some machining Saturday and Sunday, and I learned a lot from him, actually, quite a bit. He taught me some techniques on the lathe about getting things true and using your edge finders and stuff like that. And I got a really good jump start on my Canon build. And there's some pictures on my Instagram for that. It's going to take some time just because I'm not able to get upstate as often as I need to get it finished in time. But I'm real excited about a good jump start on that he helped me with. So thank you for that, Kevin. Yeah, nice. And now I'm in the city just working on some client work I got to install tomorrow. And just trying to stay cold. It's tough.
Cool.
Stay cool, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hot here as well. I mean, it's just gross. Like, no matter what you do, no matter when you, like, when I decide to run or any, it's just all day long. It's just hot.
What's tough is we got to turn the air conditioner off because I'm in the room where the air conditioner is. So I have to turn it off so that when we talk, it's not making noise.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
The sacrifices we do for you guys.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, mine's off as well. But you may hear a noise in the background, and if you do, that's my 3D printer, and that's because it's in the middle of a very long print. And we weren't planning on recording today, but it was kind of a quick change. So it's still printing in the background, so I hope that's not too loud and annoying. For me, I've been working on this 3D printing project for next week. But the stuff that's going on this week is I made a portable paint booth. So it's a paint booth that is all hinged on all the sides, and so it folds down flat. And so I can collapse it, put it behind something, and then when I want to use it, pull it out, turn it into a box, and put a box fan behind it. It pulls through a filter. And the funny thing is, I made this last week, and then filmed last night. I went to film like the intro and the outro and stuff, and I sat down on my computer before I went to film that and refreshed my feed, and there was a video from DIY Tyler. You guys know him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was just in New York.
He made oh yeah,
He was, yeah, for the Google education
oh that's
program.
right,
Him and Nick Faire.
yeah. He made a portable paint spray booth, and that was his video. And it's a bit different in construction than mine, but it's just funny how people kind of do the same things around the same time. And,
Yep.
Anyway, but he did a really good job. It's just a different way to go about it. So I'll link his video as well. And I actually ended up mentioning it in my video, so maybe he can get some more views from anybody that's interested in seeing mine. They'll want to see his as well.
Nice. He's a good dude. I've met him at the Detroit Maker Faire last year. He lives in the area. I think in Detroit, which is really close to us. Good dude.
Cool. Nice. Speaking of Maker Faire, they just released, or whatever they call it, tickets for the Atlanta Maker Faire, which is October 1st and 2nd. And
The New York Maker Faire.
that's
same
where
time.
I'm going to be. It's the same weekend as the one in New York, which is why I'm not going there. That's a bummer. But so I'll be in Atlanta. Anybody that's in the South should really come to it because it's a good fair. It's it's smaller than New York and San Francisco, but it's a really good size. It's got a great feel to it, and the staff is really awesome. They've done a great job the last several years. So I'll be there, and I've talked to quite a few other people over Twitter that are going to be there. It sounds like there's going to be a good turnout. So tickets are available, and they're free. You just got to sign up for one so they know how many people to expect. But October 1st and 2nd in downtown Decatur, which is part of Atlanta. So come hang out.
Yep, I'll be in New York at the same time at the New York Maker Faire. So if anybody's going to be around this area, come hang out.
No, come to Atlanta and hang out with me.
Yours is free. Mine, I think, costs a few bucks. So
Cool. Well, we didn't really have a topic today, but I asked Twitter for some questions, and they're kind of rolling in.
do we want to do what we learned? Remember that?
Oh yeah, let's do that. And then I have another little thing that I want to talk about before we get to those questions that came in. But yeah, so last week we didn't do the Today I Learned or This Week I Learned thing, and people talked about it and were like, "Why didn't you do the new segment?"
We forgot, I think. Or did we not? I don't know.
Well, no, we just didn't have anything to say. I think it's not something we're going to do every episode. I don't think. So it'll happen when we have things to share. But do you guys have something to share? Anything new?
Yes. So my cutting board video that I put out last week has an inlay, which may not technically be an inlay, which may technically be an inlay. There's controversy there, but it's inlay that goes all the way through.
It looks great. The picture looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. And so it's a technique that I learned from a fine woodworking article many years ago, written by a guy named Scott Lewis. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And like most woodworking techniques, you just assume that they've been around forever. And that maybe the author of that particular article did not invent that technique, and you're just doing something that somebody else has done a million times. So I've used this technique on a box before. I think there's a video out from like maybe 2 years ago that I did, and in that video, I said, "Hey, this is the thing I learned from Scott Lewis." But in this video for the cutting board, I just said, "Hey, here's how to do this," and I got called out by Fine Woodworking and said, "This is Scott Lewis's technique," and I just assumed that this was a woodworking technique that's been around for many years, like everything else. And so learning that, maybe there are some new techniques that people have come up with in the past few years, and not everything has been handed down generation to generation. So I've learned that maybe I need to watch my back and give credit where credit is due at times.
Right. It seems like an honest mistake, though.
It was an honest mistake, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you weren't trying to claim it as your invention.
Right. And I'm making this thing, and I'm just trying to show people how I do it, and not trying to step on any toes. So sorry, Scott Lewis. Sorry to Fine Woodworking.
That's an interesting thing, though, because random person who does woodworking, say as a hobby, they learn things as they need them to, and they may not learn any particular new skills, but every few months or something, they, maybe 6 months, they go, I have to make a cutting board, and they go learn that one particular thing, and they add it to their kind of quiver of arrows that they use going forward. But with what we do, we're constantly making things, and we're constantly having to find new techniques and new ways to do things, and so we're just like piling on every little scrap of, new thing that we can find. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to always remember even where you learned something when you're learning a lot, or where you saw it, or and it is really good, of course, to give credit where credit is due. But I think a lot of times we don't even think about the fact that it's a thing we learned. It's just like one of the things that we know.
Right, we're just pulling it out of our arsenal of techniques. It's funny. Yeah. Sometimes I'll do something in a video, and somebody will say, "Oh, that's the Jimmy Diresta way." I'm like,
yeah.
Jimmy Diresta does that, but I don't think he invented that.
Yeah. He's using a hammer, just like Jimmy Diresta does.
People always accuse me of, inventing the sped up camera shot. I didn't invent that. I just use it more often. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and I've gotten into the habit. I don't know if this is a good habit or a bad habit, but I've gotten into the habit of being really verbose about when I know that there's somebody else doing something similar or has done something similar recently. I try to be really clear about, like, I got this from them, or I learned this from watching that person, so you should go check them out too. And really, that's mostly so that I don't have to deal with the 1,000 comments of, "Oh yeah, tested.com just posted something about this 2 weeks ago." You know what I mean? Of course they did. That's what inspired me to do this thing. Whatever.
They put out that video so you could use that technique in your shop.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean that's why people are teaching this stuff, is so people will learn it and implement it. And but I don't want to be unnecessarily apologetic about using things that other people have used. You don't want to get gun shy about, like, okay, now we're going to list the 20 sources for where I learned everything that I'm going to do in this video. But at the same time, it is, it's great to give credit, but it's also really good when you do that to be able to kind of spiderweb through YouTube. Because if I'm doing a helmet, like I'm planning on doing a helmet build, a prop helmet of some sort, and Bill Duran has done one recently. Evil Ted Smith also does prop stuff. He's done one recently, and then he did one for Tested. And so there are 3 videos right there that I learned a whole bunch of stuff from, and they're very similar. They're in the same space, And so if I didn't call those out as sources for where I got inspired or learned some stuff, it would come up in the comments that I was trying to rip off that knowledge. But,
plus, when you call out those sources, you also elevate the entire community, right? Because we're not competing against each other. We're all trying to reach the same goal, as the biggest audience that we can get our videos in front of. And so we're all actually trying to help each other out. And when one person grows, it actually helps the whole community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, I just watched the video just to see the specific technique, because I've seen your thumbnail. And I've actually done almost exactly the same thing, but not with the router bit. The router bit obviously takes up the girth of the inlay. I've done it with sort of like bandsaw kerfs and stuff like that. Nothing that I can remember, but I know I've done something very similar to it somewhere. So yeah, anyway, so I used that technique in the last 30 years, but I didn't think I invented it either. So
And well, the thing is, he did it on a cutting board, and I did it on a cutting board. So yeah, I mean, shame on me.
yeah. Well, what did I learn this week? I learned this week that the printing press community are actually very kind and welcoming, because I did a second printing press video this weekend. I kind of, spur of the moment, I was going to print. I did print several new posters, and at the last second, just as I was about to begin, I was like, oh, let me film this, even though it was something I've already done. And so I made a 2.5 minute video out of my process of printing. Me and Willie printed about 300 more posters, and right after I did it, I got a lot of comments. Not a lot, but a lot of positive comments, and then the printing press community, people that know techniques. I don't know anything about these techniques. I just know like the vague concept of like stick this in there and ink will go on that and put it on the paper. But I learned quite a bit in the comments. I'm learning quite a bit from the people that are watching that have had experience. They're like, oh, why don't you use reducer? Why don't you use there's this chemical that'll make it dry quicker? All these little things that I'm learning, and all the information is being distributed in a kind, loving manner. So thank you to all the printing press nerds out there that are nothing like axe nerds.
Maybe we should come up with a different name.
Oh, I say nerds lovingly. No, so it's been great. So I'm actually really glad I put out that second printing press video. It was kind of just like I put it out. I didn't announce it. I mean, not that I typically announce my videos, but I put it out, and then the next day I put out kind of a more elaborate video of the axe build, or the metal hatchet build I put out the very next day. So I was just throwing it out there, and I'm glad that I did. And each time that I print on that machine, even if the video is a minute or too long, I'll probably end up just making a video of it, just because I'm still intrigued and in love with watching that machine do what it does. And
it would be really cool to if you made a video about that, but then maybe not just showing the final result, but show what's actually happening, the mechanics of what's going on.
Sure.
I'm still not I watched both of those, and I'm still not really clear on like what all's moving and how things are timed. That's really interesting.
Right, that's a good point. I have a very specific concept for another video for the printing press. It'll start out with a block of wood. I'm going to hand sketch and then hand carve, and then that's going to be the printed posters, the hand carved. So in that video, I'll definitely call out some. I missed a couple of good opportunities to shoot the machine from the profile and seeing some of the mechanisms. I mean, I got some of that, but there were some specific shots I wanted to do that I forgot. So I will definitely keep that in mind the next time I do this upcoming idea. So I'm liking the fact that I'm making these posters and people want them. Those first batch of posters I made, I thought I was just going to hand them out to friends who came by, and then everybody's like, I got to buy one. Mm-hmm. And so that's why they want it for sale. And so this next batch is also going to go up, and I already bought paper to do a new, different batch. So looking forward to doing that. I really enjoyed. Awesome. I really enjoy the concept and the process of printing. I really got into it this last time. If you notice, I kept like running the machine and like going like I was pulling the lever on a what do you call those things in Las Vegas that you pull the arm on?
Slot machine?
Yeah, I kept pulling the lever, and I was like hoping the print would come out good each time. And it, from time to time they would come out a little crummier, then better. But I also learned too that I could leave it in the machine and it could impress the same piece of paper 3 and 4 times, and just each time distribute a little bit more ink. And that's again, just the more often I use the machine, the few things I'm learning that I just never thought were possible. So that just comes with experience. That's it. That's the bottom line is it just comes with experience.
Awesome. Well, kind of along the same. Oh no, not about being nice, I guess is what I was thinking. I did some sewing on the last video that I did for the outdoor sink, and it was kind of like you with printing. Like I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I just started doing it, and was figuring out as I was going along. So I learned that when you're putting pins through a hem to make a hem, I put the pins parallel with the hem. Mm-hmm. And so when I was feeding it through the sewing machine, I had to pull each pin out so that it could go under the foot. Yeah. And I had immediately a lot of really nice comments saying, put your pins perpendicular to the seam, and then you can just sew right over them. Right. And then you pull them out when you're done. And I'm like, oh, that seems so simple. but a huge, time saver. And it would make, because one of the things I kept running into is every time I would stop the machine to pull a pin out, I would have to restart, but my hands had shifted. So then the seam wasn't running perfectly the same direction. So there'd be like these little kicks every time I started and stopped the machine. And, being able to go straight over them, that would have gotten rid of that, and I would have had a better seam. So
another a friend of mine who taught me how to sew years ago, she kind of got me started, and I learned a lot from Taylor as well. But my friend told me years ago, one of the most important things she said to me that helped me is every time you start and stop the machine, make sure your needle is through the material. So make sure you always stop. So the needle will be right where it's supposed to be. You could lift the foot up. You could spin the material around. As you click the foot right back down, the next stitch is going to be exactly spaced from the previous stitches. So if you flip the foot up and you're still in line and you're not stuck in the material, you're going to shift around. You're going to end up with a little hiccup in your line. So always stop with the needle in the material. This way you could make
I learned.
You can make a 90-degree turn, or you could just stop and keep going, but you'll maintain your spacing.
Cool. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some Twitter stuff coming in. We'll get to those in a second. We've talked about Fusion 360 in the past a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Okay. I finally started using it the last, I don't know, maybe on Friday, so over the weekend, and I totally get it now. I totally understand why people think it's awesome, and how it's capable and like what all it can do. I mean, I don't know it that well yet, but after finally starting from scratch and building a thing that I knew what it should look like in my head, and I had photo reference, trying to replicate something with it, going from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions, really gave me an understanding of like how you layer the stuff and how it's categorized. And so it's really encouraging to know that like just spending a little time with one project, I have a different understanding of this whole thing, and I can probably use it a lot more going forward. On my live stream last week, we finished something up, and I was like telling everybody watching, hey, let's go 3D model this thing that I'm going to build. And I sat down in 123D Design, which I've used quite a bit, and tried to model this thing, and it was just like problem after problem over and over the entire time. And I got so frustrated, and it was live, so that was part of it. And the people watching were giving me suggestions, and they were really helpful and patient and stuff. But at the end of it, of like an hour of this modeling and attempting, I had nothing. I had nothing worth using. It was really frustrating. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to try Fusion. It's, I don't know the tools. I'm going to have to learn as I go. And immediately it was better. And immediately I saw the process of how I should do things, and doing the research on what tools I needed was a lot easier. And so anyway, anybody that's been looking for 3D modeling software, or if you're going to do 3D printing or CNC or both, just get Fusion. It's free. Just learn it.
Funny that you mentioned that, because it's one of those things that I've wanted to get into, but I haven't really had a need to yet. And I'm a subscriber to lynda.com, and I've been waiting for a lynda.com video to come out on Fusion 360, and just like 3 days ago, they released their first 360 tutorial. So if you are lynda.com subscriber, check that out. And just so here's a quick tip for everybody, that many libraries give you a free lynda.com membership. So look into it.
Really?
So if you are in Toledo, you get a free, if you are a member of the Toledo Public Library, you get a free lynda.com membership.
Wow. That's pretty big.
I think I get one from the School of Visual Arts, right? Too,
yeah.
I think.
What's that, Jimmy?
I think I get to use one from the School of Visual Arts. I think I got an email about that just recently.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Well, and if you don't have Lynda, the YouTube channel for Fusion 360, the one that's run by Autodesk, is actually a really good quality. They have tons of tutorials that are very specific. It's not like an hour-long class. It's 3 minutes of, here's how you turn this shape into this shape, or how you
I've watched
this
it.
one
It is
particular
actually
tool.
done well.
So, yeah, they did a good job. And it's not overwhelming, which I think is... A lot of technical videos like that can be kind of overwhelming if they try to cram too much in. But, yeah, it's a good one. Okay. Twitter. Thanks,
What's up, Twitter?
Thanks, Twitter, for all the questions. We have quite a few now. Let's see. Oh, where did it go? Okay. This is from the Maker Monkey. At what subscriber count will Jimmy show us his collection of mallards?
I just did. I just showed my...
That was hammards.
Hammards. No, there was a few mallards in there. A couple that I made were in there that I talked about in the beginning. Actually, my next collection probably will be, because I was with Kevin this weekend, and I showed him, I was like all excited to show him these few wrenches that I had. So I think my next collection will be wrench inventions that I didn't invent, but that I collect. So from time to time, whenever I go to the flea market, one of the things I'm always looking for is interesting wrenches with cool mechanisms that I could just put in my vocabulary to use somewhere, or even just be inspired by to do something completely different with, but similar in concept. For instance, my recent hatchet handle video that I made, that was inspired by a wrench from 120 years ago, which I collect a lot of. The way the wooden, you see a lot of the screwdrivers with it, you have that hard wood inset into the casted steel. And that was really my inspiration to do that. I always wanted to do something like that. But then I got the vision with that axe, that hatchet head that I got at a flea market. And I saw that being the whole thing. It kind of came to me in a flash. And it was a quick, easy video, even though it was fairly labor intensive. But it was a quick, easy video for me because I got to see the vision right away. So coming up, if I ever hit 800,000 or 900,000 or a million, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show wrenches next. And then I got to come up with another one after that. Maybe I'll show my collection of chickens eventually. They all look similar, though. I'm going to have to dye their hair or something.
Yeah. You should do that anyway. And chickens don't have hair, just so you know.
Feathers.
If your chicken has hair,
it's not a chicken. It's a cat.
Hey, guys, chickens don't have hair. Unsubscribe.
That's right.
Speaking of that, this one's from David. Are there any nerves that come with being judged by thousands of people on the internet for what you make? Do you guys still deal with nerves or like apprehension about posting or?
A little bit. I still get it.
It's excitement.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of butterflies in the stomach. Just before I'm about to go do a lecture, or I always get that little bit of like, take a deep breath and be like, okay, I hope this goes well. And that same thing happens every time I click publish. I've talked about that before, and we all have that little bit of like, okay, here we go. Let's see what happens here. And, it's always a good feeling. I honestly, when I put up my printing video the other day, I was like, oh, I hope people don't get mad that I'm doing something similar to something I just recently did. But that's why I try to make it really fast and, kind of like just a quickie. And like I said, I got a good response on it. It's not getting the hits that the first one got, but that's fine. In time, everything builds a nice audience. But yeah, it's always nerve-wracking in a good way. That energy is what we live for.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I don't really get the nerves anymore. It's more just pure excitement. Like, I can't wait to hear what people are going to say. And usually, at least for my channel, is when I put out a video, the first 24 hours is mostly nothing but awesome positive comments. Because those are my two...
Right.
subscribers are the ones that can't wait for the videos to come out. It's the people that fall on the video that find the videos through search later on that kind of say the hateful things. And
why did YouTube make me watch this?
Right.
I always love that one.
Like we've mentioned it before, like 99.9% of all the comments are good, positive, or they mean well, or just plain encouraging. So I just get completely excited to really.
I know this is going to sound crazy. I kind of miss the trolls because no one's starting any fights with me lately.
Here you go.
So I got nothing to fight for.
Well, you just put a target on your back, son.
I know. Well, no one's listening to this that hates us.
Oh, I don't know about that.
At least not that I know.
Speak for yourself, maybe. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, David. Like, I actually really enjoy the comments that come in really in the first few hours. I mean, the first day or so, but those first few hours are always the biggest flood of comments, and they're almost always very positive. And like, those are the questions that I'm really interested in answering, because those are the ones that are genuine, like, well, okay, I didn't quite get this. Can you explain this to me more? Or like, where do I get the parts to make that for myself? Not like, why didn't you use this instead of this? Those type of questions aren't, I mean, there are valid versions of like, why did I do a certain thing? But a lot of it is like, why did you use this brand blade instead of this brand blade? I don't know. It was on sale. Yeah, I really enjoy those. But I do have a bit of nerves when I post. I mean, I'm not worried about it, and the negative comments don't get to me like they used to at all, which is fantastic. I feel like that's a maturing in me. But, I'm still, anytime I've created something and I'm putting it in front of a bunch of people, there is a bit of anxiety is the wrong word, but, like a excitement.
Well, it's funny. I'm working on the Canon video. It's like I said, it's slow going, but as I build up footage, I try and edit it together. And then when I do a couple of last once-overs, once I have all the pieces, but I'm like trying to crop out my Crocs and my naked legs. I'm trying to do all this stuff in the shots because people will be like, oh, using a lathe with Crocs. It's just, who cares? I really don't care. It's 100
like Bob
degrees.
Weldon in shorts.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. And I just started,
I worked really hard.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I worked really hard to try to frame all those shots so you couldn't see my shorts for about half of it, and then I was like, I can't do it anymore. It's hot. I just gotta.
It's the same thing with me. I went out in the woods yesterday. I'm making a table base for one of my clients, and I'm going to make a video of it. And I had to go out and I had to literally harvest like 2 tree trunks. So I had to drive through my woods and find a standing dead tree, and so I had a chainsaw with me. So I did it all in my Crocs and shorts, and the chainsaw nerds are going to tear me to pieces. But it will be somewhat funny because I can't crop out my whole body when I'm using the chainsaw and everything. So it'll be interesting. But that's
you could put like a giant sensor block over like from the waist down, so it looked like you were doing it naked.
Yeah, like when Jimmy Kimmel does like unnecessary beeps.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, no. So it's going to be comical watching me. It's going to basically be me like cutting a tree down with nothing on.
Great.
I think I'm going to write that down for a title.
Nice.
I do have
right.
a pair of Levi shorts on, by the way. Camo. I have camo Crocs on, so people won't be able to see my feet at all. It's just going to look like I'm floating in the air in the woods.
Like you have green screen shoes,
Yeah.
and then you just get rid of your feet.
Exactly.
What is the coolest object within arm's reach right now? Scott Comrie's asking that.
In arm's reach.
Oh, Jimmy, what's that?
This is that seahorse I always talk about. It's like the earliest thing I ever made that I have in my possession still. I made this when I was 9 years old. The apartment
so cool.
is a little taken apart, so I'm doing the podcast from my dresser top in my bedroom. And so this is this seahorse that I made when I was a kid. And I made it on the back. I don't know if I've always talked about it, but I don't know if I ever showed you guys. My dad gave me some scrap wood. He misspelled a sign that he made. This is
I see it, yeah.
40 years old, this piece of wood. And my dad was making signs for his friends at the firehouse and stuff. And he misspelled words all the time because there was no iPhone to check.
Right.
And so he would make the sign and show it. And my mother would be like, you spelled the word the wrong or whatever. And so he'd go down and make it again. And this is a piece of his scrap wood. And I made this seahorse. So I'm just like playing with it while we're talking. And then that question came up.
Could you throw that up on Instagram so we can link to that in the show notes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, you got something?
Within arm's reach is probably this 1959 book called Bench Woodwork. And if you go to a thrift store, if you go to an antique store, look through the book section because the techniques basically are still the same today as they were 40 years ago. But just the illustrations and the smell of the book is just, it's so cool. I feel so good when I open up these old books.
That reminds me of a series of books. My old friend from upstate, I say old is because he's about 80 years old. He's a friend of mine from the neighborhood upstate, and he's like, oh, you're a carpenter, let me give you these books. And he gave me these series of books with leather bound. They're from like the 1920s or 1900s. Of carpentry books and how to properly frame a house and how to properly use a square. It's great. And like everything is over-explained, but done really well. And so
are there illustrations in it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you guys some pictures of them later. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I keep them around to just thumb through.
Did you guys grow up with the Firefox books?
Not me.
Really?
So?
Time Life.
If anybody...
Time Life, yeah.
If you ever are in a place and you find the Firefox books, it's a whole series of them. At least look through them. We had them growing up, and it's just like, it's almost like an encyclopedia, but it's like how to make things or how to use what's around you. It's just this weird combination of like Boy Scouts and construction and basket weaving and just all sorts of stuff. And I remember just loving flipping through them because it was always really random. At least in my memory, I could be remembering something incorrectly, but I think it was called Foxfire. Anyway, around me, so I have this. I'll have to post a picture of this as well. See this figure? This was designed. This is a sculpt that a friend of mine designed and had it printed or had it made into a toy. And so it's like a full 3-dimensional.
Oh, it's like a little
sculpt.
a vinyl cast.
Yeah, but it's actually an epoxy, like a resin cast. So it's really heavy.
Yeah.
It's solid. But I mean, just a beautiful paint job and beautiful design.
Yeah.
It's a red panda as a ninja. I can't remember what its name was, but my friend Dave, he's actually the same guy that did the artwork for the side of my arcade machine. And he's just
nice
an
styling,
incredible,
really nice styling.
Yeah, he's an incredible artist, and so that was one. There's some website where you could put up a toy design and it would get voted on, and then if it had enough votes, it would get made. And this one is number 2 of 50.
Cool.
So there's not very many of them, but
Very cool. We should all hashtag cool things within reach or something and put all 3 of these pictures up.
Oh yeah,
for Friday.
that's a good idea. All right, let's see. Other questions? What software do we use to record the podcast? Skype. Done.
With a plugin called Call Recorder.
Yeah. And then David edits it down in Logic, right?
Correct.
Yes. Done. That was
Edits
easy.
out all the siren sounds and my hiccups.
Well, not all of them.
Not all of them. My beeping smoke detector.
Okay, here's a good one from Andrew Setters. Hey, Andrew. You've got $500 to start a shop. What's your shopping list of tools?
It's funny that he asked that because about a year and a half ago, I wrote an article called Starting a Shop with $500, which I'm going to make Bob post a link in the show notes to it. But it's all about going to Craigslist and finding everything that you need on Craigslist. You can get a table saw. I got my first table saw. It was a Grizzly for $125. Paid him $25 more to deliver it to my house. What else did I get? I got my bandsaw, my first bandsaw from Harbor Freight with the coupon like $125 or whatever. And then it's just all the little clamps that you need. So check Craigslist, check Harbor Freight. You can get a whole shop for $500.
For $500, I got like 5 truckloads of hardwoods, which is when you see there's a video that I did for Core 77 where I made it called the Dovetail Bench. And me and Willie go into the container. All that wood that's in the back of that container is mostly all the wood I got. For $500, I got all that. I got 2 bandsaws, a bunch of hand tools, like a couple, like tons of shop tools, hand tools, and spike for $500. So it all depends. You just gotta you just gotta look around and you get lucky.
Yeah. One time, I don't remember where we were. It may have been at Maker Faire. There was a kid who asked a question, and I remember your response was something, Jimmy, was something to the effect of, like, go to your parents or your parents' friends or your friends' parents and ask them if they have any tools in their garage that they don't use, because most likely they will.
Yeah.
And then ask them if you can borrow them or if you can have them, and people will be willing to just give you stuff that's in their way.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to use for a long time or something.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
I mean, I don't want to take credit for this, but I don't know if the timing worked out, but me and Bill Lavosi were talking, and I encouraged him to go to Craigslist. And the next day on his Instagram, he had a truck with 2 huge tools on it that he got for just a couple $100. And I said, dude, go to Craigslist and just scour Craigslist, even if you got to drive 50 miles. It's worth it. I had it the day I bought that lathe, that big lathe. There's a video on my channel from last summer. We drove like 350 miles in one day to like there and back, and it was a but in one day I was able to get a tool that I really wanted, but I was willing to drive. It's
really bizarre, and I know I've said this before, but I really think Savannah is a Craigslist black hole. Right. And I mean, like, I've looked on occasion. I don't need any tools, so I'm not actively looking for anything. But occasionally I'll just be like, oh, let me look for a mill or a small lathe or something. And the only things that I can find, I do get results, but they're in Jacksonville, which is 2 hours from here, or they're in Augusta, which is 2 hours from here, or Atlanta, which is 4 hours. Yeah. You know, they're within a range, but there is nothing. Yeah. Like tool-wise, anyway.
Well, there are some.
Maybe it's like all free cats and stuff.
Yeah, there are some Craigslist cities that just don't get listed because maybe you classify it as a black hole, which is a good way to put it. Because, like, for instance, Albany has tons of tools in New York State, but Catskill, which is 35 miles away, you open up the Catskill Craigslist, there's nothing. You could see like the last 3 months like on one page, but when you open up Hudson Valley, 200 postings were put up in the last day. So it's just different cities have, like people in Catskill go to the Albany one more often than they go to the one that they're in, for instance.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I guess maybe people just pick the largest, closest place. Maybe we're just not that, but yeah, that's cool. All right, so there was one here. Oh, from Jonathan. Why do people feel the need to write first in the comments on all your videos? It drives me crazy.
I think people are just happy to be there.
I know why.
Why?
Because people want to comment on the video, right? But they don't want to wait till the end of the video to leave a proper comment about the video. So while they're watching the video, they're sitting right there. The comments is right there. Why not type first?
It's like seeing cement. It's like seeing wet cement, and you're like, "Oh, I got to write my name. No one's looking."
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like you go to a video and like, "Oh my God, nobody commented yet. I gotta scratch my initials in the wall." That's what it's about.
It doesn't bother me at all.
No, I think it's fun.
It doesn't bother me either. I think it's a lot of it is just people wanting attention because if you go to a video and there's 1,000 comments or 100 comments. And you leave a comment, it's probably not really going to be seen. But when you go to a video and there's no comments yet, and you say, I'm first, then everybody from then on has potential to see your comment. And I think people just want to be noticed, And
the funny thing is because I put videos through Core and I put videos through Make, and I don't know when they're going to go live. They just kind of give me a general range, today after 4, and I don't know. So from time to time, I just go and check. And there's been a few times where there was no comments. I just happened to hit it when I knew it was going to be up. And I write first on my own video. So people like that.
Nice.
But it's not the video that I'm in control of, so I'm just luckily found it.
Yeah. That's funny. I had on this last video that I put up, I had a comment, because I post and then I'm like right there at the computer doing other stuff and, so I'm watching the comments as they roll in. And it was like a 10-minute or 11-minute video. I posted it, and in about a minute and a half, I got a comment that was like, hey, that was a fantastic video, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
how does that happen?
You haven't had time to watch it all yet.
He's in the 4th dimension.
I know you're not telling the truth. But anyway. All right, so Jay... Yeah?
Can we answer Paul's question? Paul Mayette? Is that how you say that, Jimmy? Paul Mayette?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
He wants to know what our favorite meal is. We always record the show at dinner time, and I'm always hungry when we're recording. So I want to know what everybody's favorite meal is.
Favorite, like full meal or individual?
Let's go
entree?
full meal. Let's go full meal.
Wow.
If you're about to get hung on the city street in front of everybody, and they're offering you your last meal. What do you want?
I want a burrito.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I like a spicy burrito. I like Taylor and I really like spicy food. We go to like all different there's like a noodle place we go to that sells really spicy food. There's a Afghanistan restaurant we go to that sells spicy food. So we like anything spicy. I mean, I know I'm speaking for myself. I like halal. I like lots of international spicy foods, typically with like meat and rice.
I'm going chicken. Dark meat chicken, legs, thighs. Usually fried or just breaded and baked. I just love chicken and mashed potatoes. That's all I eat. Yeah.
I think like this is not something I eat very often, and I couldn't. But as a last meal, kind of favorite meal, I think a filet mignon with mashed potatoes and like a mushroom gravy, whatever that stuff is, they put over it with when it's with steak. Oh, that's like my anniversary meal. That's what I get when we go out to fancy places on anniversary.
I can get down with a really good steak. There's a couple of restaurants that I'll go to for good steak, but it's very rare.
My problem with the filet is...
It's rare.
No, I mean like rare that I go out.
It's medium rare?
Yeah.
My problem with the filet is Like when we go out to eat and we're at a place where we're gonna have steak, that's like a special. It's usually a special meal. Like we're out and we're having a good time. It's an anniversary or whatever. And during those special meals, I want to eat until I can't eat anymore, and so I'm always afraid to get the fillet because it's gonna be like this little 6-ounce piece of meat that's only like 3 bites. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just go with the cheaper steak. But I just know I'm gonna be full when I leave.
Well, do you guys have a...
But see, if you get the small one, then you have room for dessert, and then you can get full on dessert or 2.
The funny,
Yeah,
do you guys ever go to like big steakhouses? Like in New York, we go to a steakhouse here, like Old Homestead or Spark Steakhouse, and or there's a whole bunch. You know, everyone's going to mention these other ones, but you go to the place, you get a fillet, and it's a little thing. It's like a hockey puck, and you get some mashed potatoes, and then all of a sudden, this is just my experience with my friends. You're completely stuffed, and you've eaten, a volume of food that's like the size of say 3 cell phones, and it costs like $350 for 2 people.
What a weird measurement device.
But you know what I'm saying?
measured everything in cell phones now. Yeah.
When you go to like a proper steakhouse, like you get a little bit of food, but somehow you get completely stuffed, maybe because you eat too much bread. And the bill is like hundreds of dollars between 2 or 3 people. Hundreds of dollars. And like me and my friends don't even drink, the couple guys I go to steakhouses with. And the bills end up being so expensive. But maybe it's just New York City.
Yeah, I don't think I've had that. I mean, like when we go out for an anniversary, it's a nice place, but it's never hundreds of dollars. It may be $100.
Yeah.
I don't eat that much, I guess. But
no, it's crazy.
Usually it's the
New York
bottle of
prices.
wine. Like when you get that bottle of wine with your dinner, that's the thing that throws it over like the 150 range. So
Yeah.
drink water.
Good advice.
And then you have $100 to spend on desserts if you drink water. So there you go.
Bob loves desserts.
Let's see. There was so this is also from Paul. If you three, and we get this a lot, so I kind of want to like just talk through it and see if we have any ideas. If you 3 guys were to do a collaboration build, what would it be?
We've
You guys have
tried.
any ideas on this?
The problem is our schedules are so different, and it's just really hard to work it in.
Well, and here's my thought on it. And this, collaborations are a big thing on YouTube, and people look for collaborations. And I try to look for them with people that are not in my kind of realm because there's fewer points of overlap between skill set. In us, we all have different skill sets, and there are points where we don't overlap, but there's a whole lot of overlap as well. So it's like, we can't make a wooden thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's different. You know what actually would be a better collab video, which I actually really like, and we've talked about it before. Remember I jokingly said the chopstick challenge where we each get the same object and, use that as a starting point. So that's something we should potentially do one day. Like I like the 2x4 challenge that the guys do, and where everyone's given like the same thing as a starting point. My college professor who kind of got me going and who hired me at School of Visual Arts was very good at that, Kevin O'Callahan. I was in a show where everybody was given a Yugo, the car, a non-running car, and turned it into an art object. And somewhere on the internet you can see mine is a picture of an accordion. It's a car turned into an accordion. It's like a big visual prop. But I always like that idea too, and so it's a collaboration video in the way that we're all on the same page, but we take it in our own direction. So it's funny to see as a starting point. So that might be a good idea for us to do.
I like that. Can you explain the chopstick thing? Is it just starting off with chopsticks?
Oh, it was just a joke that, we each get a pair of chopsticks and what can we make with that?
Gotcha.
And I envisioned myself slicing it really thin and making like the Eiffel Tower, 6 inches tall or whatever. That's just a stupid example. But the idea is like you just get a material. We all start with the same volume technical piece of material. And where do we take that piece of material and what do we do with it?
I like that. Let's talk off air and schedule that.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in engineering school, I probably talked about this. One of my favorite projects that we did was everybody was given one piece of graph paper, and we had to make the tallest tower with that one 8.5 by 11 piece of graph paper. And on the graph paper there were squares, 1/8 by 1/8 inch, and so it was like a piece of fine graph paper. And we were in teams of 2, and we had to literally just slice that paper up and glue it together with Elmer's glue and make it as tall as we possibly could, a tower. And the very last tip was just like slivers of paper just to get that overall height. So that was a lot of fun doing stuff like that. Like, everyone given the same starting point and engineer whatever it is you want to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, we'll try to make that happen.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well,
Last one. Make it good.
oh no, last one. Okay, this might be interesting. This is from Neil. Hey, Neil. What challenges do you have finishing a project? Do you see any common roadblocks besides time and money?
Sure. Here's the issue that I deal with when finishing projects. When you're done with it and before you actually put finish on it, you can see it as a whole piece and you're really proud and happy and excited that this thing is done, that I almost want to rush through the finishing process because I want it to be done because we're almost there. We're at the finish line. And
You want to bust through the tape.
I want to bust through the tape. Yeah. And sometimes depending on the type of finish you're going to use, it may take 5 days. And that's just a long 5 days.
Yeah. Well, I just had the experience with my Canon build, and you guys know I've talked about it a couple times over the last few weeks. I got the piece of material in the lathe, and now it was a matter of getting started. And getting started and digging into this giant chunk of brass that weighs probably 70 pounds and cutting it up and wanting that image is inside of that chunk of brass, and I just want to hit that image spot on, or at least get close to it so that I could start to really see the vision and then really dig into it and hit the details. That's intimidating. And, even people might say, oh, you don't seem like you're intimidated by anything, but digging into that and being nervous that I'm going to screw it up or that my scale's going to be off. I'm very cognizant of scale and like length and width compared to like reality, because I'm using some real reference images from Google to make this. And so I really had a hard time getting started. But when Kevin came this weekend and he said, let's work on that. Like, he had no idea that I was intimidated to start on my own project. I just faked it and said, all right, let's get started. And then, like I told him later on, I was like, I didn't want to do this because I was too nervous to screw up this metal. But anyway, we got off to a really good start. But I've had that experience quite a bit where like I have a really beautiful piece of material and I don't want to dig into it until like I feel like I'm good and ready to screw it up. But I never really do screw it up. It's just getting over the bump emotionally.
It's funny how somebody else can help you kick your butt in gear and just get started with something.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of like what you said, David, but maybe for a little different reason. I have so many projects that I want to do or that are in progress at some different stage, and the majority of them are in like a planning or a design stage. But so when I finish one, it's kind of like what you said, when you get it almost finished and it's like you can see that it is a thing that you wanted it to be, and it's not because I really want to rush through it to get that one done. It's because, all right, this is pretty close and I've got a bunch more stuff I need to go do. So I just want to like wrap it up. But it's easier at that point when you're that close to just be like, well, this is good enough. I'm just going to not really go take all the steps. I mean, case in point, like the outdoor sink that I did, I had to weld the frame, which was great. Hadn't done that in a while. Did some basic woodworking, did some sewing, got that thing functional, and realized at the end, like, I should really put a coat of polyurethane or like spar urethane on the top to protect this thing. But it's already done. It's functioning. It's working. I have other stuff to do. And I still haven't gone back and put that coat of finish on it because it's like, I'm done with that one. I'm on to the next thing. But it's not really finished. So I think my challenge is just kind of following through with all the details to make sure I actually get them all done and not give up because it's good enough, I mean, it can be, you can also fall into the trap of like never giving up on something or never letting something be finished because you want to continually add that, it's the 80-20, 10-90 kind of rule thing. But I don't really fall into that. I kind of give up maybe a little before I should because I want to move on to the next thing. But yeah.
Music is definitely one of those things where it's hard to stop. Like when you're recording the song and you're layering things, you could just keep going and going and going, and eventually you have to tell yourself to stop.
Yeah. And that's a place where you were talking about having somebody else come in and kick your butt. That's where a producer in the music world comes in, because they're the person that's not emotionally attached to your song and not emotionally attached to how you want it to sound. They come in and go, you don't need 30 guitar tracks. Get rid of these. You don't need like this many effects. Back it off, and they strip it back to what it really needs to be instead of, what my tendency would be to like, yes, we need more guitar. Yes, we need
More cowbell.
more reverb. Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks, Twitter.
Thank you.
You guys been watching anything cool? Anything new?
Yeah, so I think I've mentioned this guy before. I'm going to mention him again because I met him while in North Carolina a couple weekends ago, and that channel is called Mod, where he is he's just making a bunch of things. Like I'm on his YouTube homepage. There's a key organizer. There is a DIY coffee energy bar, DIY fire starter, minimalist wallet. Really well done videos. And I met him and his girlfriend. His name is Taylor. I forget his girlfriend's name. Sorry. But they're good people. Good people.
Kevin introduced me this weekend to a machinist channel, which I actually really like because the guy's got a great sense of humor. It's called This Old Tony. And he talks about machining stuff, and he's got a really funny sense of humor. Like he goes to cut up a giant chunk of metal and he grabs like a kitchen knife and like adds some sound effects, and then all of a sudden it looks like he's cutting up sushi. And
Nice.
he makes doing really complicated machining things fun and simple to watch. Also because he does really good videos with a good narrative. And if you guys know anything about machining videos, a lot of guys don't. It's like watching grass grow. Because it's hard to make machining exciting because every pass is just literally a couple of 100,000ths of removing material, and things don't change very fast. So he keeps it interesting, which is not an easy thing to do. So take a look. This Old Tony.
Cool. So mine was actually a recommendation from Jason McGinn. Showed me this after my sewing video. It's a channel called Man Sewing. You like this one, David, if you're not familiar with it.
I'm not.
And it's I've only watched a couple of them, just kind of skimmed through them because it's a lot of stuff that I don't need to know yet, but I definitely subscribe so that I can have it as a reference. And it's just a guy that shows how to sew a bunch of different types of stuff. I mean, he does like quilting. He shows how to hem your pants. How to make curtains and sleeves and tabs and all sorts of stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of videos.
112.
So, yeah.
I just subscribed now.
Go check out Man Sewing, and thank you, Jason, for that recommendation. I guess that's it. Before we go, I want to thank our Patreon supporters, especially Make, Build, Modify, John Cornwell and Luis Gonzalez. They're our top supporters over there. And big thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. It's very helpful. And if you want to help us out there, you can go to patreon.com/makingit. Even $1 is pretty awesome. So thank you guys.
And thank you.
Yep.
And we have t-shirts. If you want a t-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, there's t-shirts on our website somewhere. You can go find them and buy them. Cool.
That's it.
You guys got anything else for this week?
That's it. I want to dedicate my I love you to Luis because this weekend when I put up my printing video, he answered every one of the comments for me. I sent him a note. I said, thanks for being my intern. He goes, I've been up since 4:30 in the morning. I figured you were still sleeping. So he answered a lot of the I started looking through the comments and Luis is answering this one. He answered that one. He answered this one. So
awesome.
I love you, Luis. Thank you, buddy.
Good guy. Cool. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Thanks, guys.
143. Thank you. Love you. Bye.